Hello everyone, I'm Pratibha, the author of the middle grade series Magical Ventures of Lolly and Lenny, as well as the fantasy romance novelette Redemption. Today in this video, I'm going to discuss about how to develop and write about interesting characters for your novel. According to me, the best approach for developing interesting characters is to observe the people in your own life, meaning your family, your friends, your acquaintances, and your neighbors. Readers will be able to relate to them more as they will feel and sound more realistic. So, for a while, keep a keen eye on the people around you. Try to observe their style of talking, their facial expressions, their frequent mannerisms, their special qualities, as well as their weaknesses. This will also help to add more depth to your character as you go on developing it. In the sense, they will sound more believable and relatable. So once you have a vague image of your character, you can go on adding more details to it in your mind's eye and write it down as it comes to you. For the purpose of this video, let us suppose that the character is a female. I have compiled a list of 11 factors that you can use and keep in mind while developing your character. So I will be talking about these 11 factors. First, you need to name your character so that it makes you feel as if you are thinking of a real person. While choosing a name, you can choose one that reflects some quality of the protagonist. For example, she may be named Dawn because she radiates a kind of innocence which is relatable to the freshness of dawn. Or you may name her Grace because she exudes a special ladylike and graceful quality about her which you want your readers to feel. But of course, this is not a hard and fast rule, and it entirely depends on your unique style of showcasing your character. The second factor you have to keep in mind while developing your character is the age of the character. The readers need to know the age of the character so that they can build a clear and defined image in their minds. Is the character a teenager or someone in her late 20s? But of course, this will also depend upon the storyline and the genre of the novel. If the book is a middle grade book, then the age of the character will be somewhere between 9 to 12 years old. Or if the book is a young adult book, the age of the character will be somewhere between 15 to 18. The age of the character will also determine the tone of the characters, whether it is a matured voice or a young, chirpy voice. Once you've determined her age, you need to keep the third factor in mind, which is the occupation of the character or what she does. Is she a career woman or a student, or simply someone with a daytime job to support her family? The personality of the protagonist will be largely determined by this. Because supposing the character is a high school student, then we are portraying a typically young person here. So the tone of voice will be headstrong and opinionated, or light and carefree. Again, like a typical teenager, her actions might be spontaneous or impulsive. Then again, if we are talking about a research scholar, then she may be carrying an intelligent look about her, and she may have a serious outlook about life. Then we can cite another example of a waitress who has a very gregarious personality as per the demands of her job. On the contrary, she may have a dual personality where she is cheerful, outgoing and extrovert by the day, but at home she is very withdrawn and reserved, especially with her close friends and family. The physical descriptions comes in the fourth place. It is time to describe her physically now, and the possibilities are limitless. So she might be very pretty. On the contrary, she may be average looking, but with a charming smile or a cute nose. On the other hand, she may have a handsome face but with a captivating smile and a luxurious mane of hair. There are no boundaries here, and you can portray her as you'd like your readers to glimpse a vision close to yours. So once the sex, age, occupation, and physical descriptions are done, you need to write about the character traits. Describe how she is when she is with her friends, family, and peers, and how she is when she's alone. How does it in turn affect her relationships? One more thing you have to keep in mind while developing your protagonist is that besides the heroic qualities, it will sound more real if you also add one or a few flaws to her character. In the real world, nobody's perfect, so adding a few flaws to her character will make her sound more credible. For example, she may be reserved, but at the same time, she is very helpful and easygoing. Or she may be bubbly and talkative, but at the same time, she is very sensitive and gullible. Strive to make her sound more like a round character instead of flat. For example, she may be a very helpful and straightforward girl, but at the same time, her straightforward nature makes her too frank for some people's liking, and that begets her many enemies too. Or she may be very independent and opinionated, but at the same time, she is also very stubborn, and that affects her relationships with her friends and family. Then again, she may also be someone with a very peaceful and calm disposition, but that also makes her a prey to loud and aggressive people around her. So, balancing the heroic traits with some of the flaws makes the character more credible and more believable. The readers will also look up to their protagonist on one hand, but at the same time, they can also relate the weaknesses to a piece of their own. Similarly, when you write about your antagonist, you can also add in a good quality to their otherwise villainous nature. For example, if your antagonist is a male who is very aggressive, self-centered, deceitful, and opportunistic, to his basket of vices, you can also add a virtue such as he is very loyal to his family and he can do anything for them. So in that way, you can make all your characters sound more real and more believable. Then in the sixth place, we have the settings of the novel that can help us develop the character. You can relate the moods and emotions of the character to the settings of the novel, which will help to give the readers more insight into her character. For example, if she is living in the countryside, but she longs for the hustle and bustle of the city life, so that makes her very grumpy and emotionally needy. Or on the other hand, she may be relocated to the city, but she is a country girl at heart, so that makes her restless and a loner. So that would explain her emotional state in the novel, and that would help to pave the way to write about the motivations of the character. The situations in her life is another factor that helps to determine how the character handles her emotions, trauma, setbacks, as well as happy events in her life. For example, she may have lost her mother at the beginning of the novel, hence she is very devastated and withdrawn. Or she may have been admitted to the college of her dreams, so she is very excited and optimistic about her future. The situations in her life add a better perspective to the character's traits and help the reader to imagine the character better. Then the eighth factor that I have jotted down that can help us in developing or writing about a character is the person's past. The past of a person largely determines why a protagonist is the way he or she is. You can talk about the influences or the kind of upbringing the person had in shaping his character. For example, if the girl has been brought up by a very submissive mother and a very dominant father, then maybe early on she would have decided that she would stand up for herself come what may. So the character is a very assertive one, but sometimes it may also border around aggression. Or maybe the girl's role model was her mother, who was very ambitious. Hence, the girl also grew up to be ruthlessly ambitious and goal driven. In the last instance, we can talk about a character who was often compared to her better performing siblings. Hence, she grew up with a sense of insecurity, which she often tries to hide with subtle sarcasm. Then, in the ninth place, we have the objective of the character. The objective of the character shows what she strives to be at the beginning of the novel. Maybe she wants to be very rich because she grew up in scarcity and economically deprived conditions. Hence, the character is very persevering and hardworking. Or in the other instance, the character grew up with parents who were very ambitious and never had any time for each other. So the character is very laid back and wants to enjoy life. Or she may be someone who follows her passions and creativity and doesn't bother too much about money. Instead, she strives for a sense of personal achievement and contentment. Then the 10th factor is the motivation of the character. The motivation of the character strongly determines the nature of the character and is a major factor in driving the plot. For example, if the character is a quiet and mellowed kind of person and mostly minds her own business, but the murder of her mother changes her, and so she is motivated by feelings of resentment, anger, and a strong sense of vengeance. So the novel then becomes the story of vengeance and crime as determined by the motivation of the character. Or maybe the protagonist wants to win a beauty pageant, but she is not motivated enough because her parents have instilled in her qualities of modesty and humility. But then, an inciting incident in school where she is ridiculed by the popular girls as a doormat motivates her to prove herself. Hence, the novel is more of a chick lit, which features popularity contests, peer rivalries, friendships, and romances. Or again, for instance, the character may not be very ambitious, but the tragedy of losing her father or not being able to avail medical help due to lack of finances makes her ruthlessly ambitious and goal driven. So the storyline is basically about the character's hunger for power and money. Motivation, therefore, is a major factor in the character's development. Hence, in the course of the novel, the character goes through various changes to achieve their goal in the face of their challenges. For example, a very shy woman may be motivated to change to an extrovert, or a very conservative dresser may turn into a bold or flashy dresser just to achieve her goals. Now, the last and most important factor you have to keep in mind while writing about your character is to show and not tell. Please keep in mind that when writing about her character, you have to show her personality through the dialogue she has with her supporting characters and not make the readers follow long descriptions. This is a far more creative way to show the character and their traits. For example, your protagonist is rebellious, and therefore, whilst an argument with her mother, you can show her rebellious side. Or maybe your protagonist is an earthy and sensible kind of teenager. And to show this side of her character, you can throw a scene of her with her girlfriends. So in this scenario, while her girlfriends are mostly talking about parties, fashion, and boys, she might appear bored and her mind might wander elsewhere. So keeping these points in mind, you go on developing your characters and make them grow as the situations keep changing in your novel. As the characters evolve, the readers too will feel that they are reading about characters in the real world. The protagonist's journey also becomes the reader's journey as they go through the same highs and lows, and the readers end up wanting to know more. So with this, we come to the end of this video. If you would like to listen to similar videos of this kind, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.